Okay, in this video we're going to be talking about weighted voting. And this is a process in which voters have more votes than others. So like for example, you could have a person who is voting in a corporate business election where every time that this particular person casts the vote, that would actually count as 5 votes versus someone else whose 1 vote will count for 1. And you'll see a lot of this in local governments as well as in corporate businesses, things of that nature. So let's go ahead and get started. We have a situation where we have the XYZ Moving Company. And in a company vote, an issue can be passed with 15 votes in favor of it. So there are 4 voters in the company where John, every time that he casts a vote, it counts as 5 votes. Dave has 6, Tom has 7, and then Bill has 4. Okay, so let's say, for example, we have an issue of whether or not the company should get a new truck. So that is the business proposal that has to be voted on. Can we get a new truck? Now, remember the situation. In a company vote, 15 votes have to be in favor. Okay, so if they don't get 15, then obviously they will not be able to get this new truck. Now, if you notice, John has 5 votes, Dave has 6, Tom has 7, Bill has 4. No one person can get this issue passed. So what's going to happen is John is going to have to join forces, or these voters are going to have to join together in order to get this vote passed. So in this case, what we're forming is a coalition. And so a coalition is a group of voters that decide to join together. Now, coalitions could also be a single voter. Now, the winning coalition here, we'll talk about in a second, but one thing I just want you to concentrate on is the concept of a coalition. Okay? So, moving back to our example. So, John could decide to vote by himself, and John could form his own coalition. Dave could also decide to vote by himself, Tom as well as Bill. These guys could all vote independently, and based upon the votes, it's probably not going to pass for a new truck. So what could happen is John and Dave could decide to vote together, and when you add those numbers up, you get 11 votes. So if John and Dave vote together, it would be 11. Let's see, John will have 5. Let's finish this out. Dave would have 6 votes by himself, Tom 7, and Bill's 4. Okay? Or John could decide, you know what, I want to vote with Tom for a grand total of 13 votes, I believe. Let's see, John, that would be 12. Sorry, that would be 12. Or John and Bill could decide to vote together, which would be a grand total of 9 votes. And of course, you can keep working all the different coalitions. So Dave and Tom, that would be a total of 13. Go ahead and pause the video so you can put all of the... I had to step away from my computer for a second, but go ahead and just pause the video so you can write down all the different type of coalitions that could happen. Now remember, in a different type of coalitions, you are not going to repeat coalitions. So, for example, notice how Dave and Tom decided to vote together, so you will not put a Tom and Dave together. That won't work because it's already been listed. Now remember to write down all your single coalitions, double coalitions, triple coalitions, and also your 4-man coalition. So go ahead and pause it right now and do that. Okay, so these are all the different coalitions. When you have 4 individual voters, you're going to have 15 different coalitions. So these are all the different coalitions and all the different ways that the voting could take place, even when they go single and when they pair up. All right, our next thing is to pay attention to is the winning coalition. Okay, a winning coalition is like what it says in the name, a coalition of voters that have enough votes to pass the issue. All right, so going back to our example, we know that we need 15 votes in order to pass the issue. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and weed out all the winning coalitions. So there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one, and there's one. So this is all that we're going to be paying attention to now. All these other coalitions that were not able to pass the issue, those kind of get forgotten about for the moment. Okay? Now, the reason that we went ahead and got all this information is because what we're going to do is we are going to determine the power index of each individual person. Now, the power index is a measure of the power of a member of a voting body. Now, the number of winning coalitions in which the winner is voter. So we're going to talk about how a member is an essential to the winning coalition. So let's go back to our screen here. And of course, if you need more time to write this down, feel free to pause the video. All right, so going back to our example here, what we're going to do is we are going to write a chart to display all of our information over how to figure out their power index. Okay. Now the power index, in order to figure out how much power someone has, very simply is you take each winning coalition and you have to determine if that member decides to leave, would that still be a winning coalition? So like for example, let's take this coalition of 18. If John decides to leave and he takes his 5 votes with him, will that be a losing coalition? Well, if John was eliminated from this coalition, then this 18 will turn to 13. So that obviously means that John's involvement in that coalition is very important, so John will receive 1 vote. Okay? Now, you do the same thing for Bill, and you do the same thing for Tom. So, I'm sorry. Let's see, John will 1 vote. So do the same thing for Dave. So if Dave decides to leave and took his 6 votes with him, will it be a losing coalition? The answer is yes. Yes, it would be. So he is essential. He gets a point. The same thing with Tom. If Tom decides to leave, will that be a losing coalition? The answer is yes. Tom also gets a point. And you do this for every single winning coalition. So if John, Dave, and Bill, each of them decides to leave, would that be a losing coalition? The answer is yes. So if John leaves, it'll be a loser, so it gets 1 point. Dave, if he leaves, it'll be a loser, and then Bill, if he leaves, it'll be a loser. And now notice, as they are continuing to be essential, their vote or their power index is increasing. So now we're on this one here. If John decides to leave, yes, that will be a loser. Tom, yes, as well as Bill. Okay. Now we're on this one here. So if Dave decides to leave, will that be a losing coalition? Yes, it will be. Same thing for Tom, same thing for Bill. So as it builds up right now, it looks as if the power is pretty evenly spread. So let's try this one down here. So if John decides to leave and takes his 5 votes with him, will that be a losing coalition? Well, if John leaves, then this 22 goes down to 17. So that means John is not essential for this coalition. So that means John will not receive any votes, or he will not receive a point. Same thing with Dave. Let's see, Dave. Nope, if Dave decides to leave, that turns into, let's see, I believe that turns into 16. It's still a winning coalition, so we're good. All right, moving on to Tom. If Tom decides to leave, let's see, he would be left with 15. Nope, we're good there, so no points for him. And then lastly, Bill. If Bill leaves, no. So if you were to calculate everybody's power index, very simple, everybody will be at 3. And so from here you would conclude that on this issue here, and as the situation is set up with 15 votes, you would say that all their power is evenly distributed, even though their votes are not, even though some has more votes than others. Unfortunately, in this situation here, there is nobody that has more power than the other. So that's how you do power index, and let me know if you have any questions, and we'll talk when we see each other again. Thank you.